On reprend l'antenne et on a le plaisir d'avoir, en tout cas moi j'ai l'immense plaisir d'avoir à côté de moi Monsieur Chris Potter. Chris Potter, thank you very much. We are glad to have you on our show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. We're going to try to not to take you a lot of time. We're going to talk just to know how, when you arrived in New York, how you met Red Rodney and how you put yourself in the scene.
Right. I first met Red Rodney before I moved to New York in my hometown of Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay.
The year before I moved up, and he played at a jazz festival there in South Carolina. So I met him there, and he said to give him a call when I moved to New York. So I did, and I was very surprised and happy that he asked me to join his band when I was 18.
Oh, did you know him? Did you know his history?
Course. Of course. Yeah.
And we know that you have worked with a lot of people like Dave Douglas, Paul Motion. How we say?
He always pronounced it Motion. I think it was an Armenian name, so it was actually Motian.
Motian.
But he liked Motion.
Okay,
I mean,
Motion.
It's Motion. It's cool. It's a very cool name.
He's a drummer. He's a
Yeah,
drummer.
exactly.
Okay. So we are not going to talk about all the collaborations, but one of the most important is Dave Holland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The big band and the quintet. How you met this great bass player and how you worked with him, because his music is a little bit not difficult, but it's not straight bebop. And how you enjoyed to work with him.
Yeah, well, I actually met Dave when I was still playing with Red Rodney, and we did a week at the Blue Note in New York. It was Red Rodney's quintet and then Joe Henderson's band. So Dave was playing with Joe Henderson. That was the first time I met him. So, we didn't have a chance to hang out a lot, but we first met there. And a few years later, I guess maybe 4 or 5 years later, I had the opportunity to do kind of an all-star record, So I called John Schofield and Jack DeJohnette and Dave. And I had maybe performed with Schofield once. I had made some kind of recording with Jack before, but I'd never actually played with Dave. So that was the first time that we had a chance to play together, and it was all my music, So he saw that I was also interested in odd meters and in playing free, even though he had first heard me with Red, he could hear, that wasn't the only kind of concentration of my musical focus. So it was a year or two after that he asked me to join his band.
Okay. What is the most important date or album you made with Dave Holland? For you.
To be honest, I don't even really remember. I mean, we mostly worked with the small group, with the quintet. We played hundreds of concerts, and it really turned into the sort of band where each part isn't even as important as the whole thing. I thought, it's like the combination of Steve Nelson and Robin Eubanks, and at first it was Billy Kilson, and then it was Nate Smith playing drums. For one thing, it's just a unique sound with the vibraphone and the sound of Robin playing trombone. But of course, much more than that, it was Steve Nelson and Robin Eubanks. Like these strong musical personalities. So it was a very special thing to be a part of, and feel that we were really creating a kind of a new band sound, and also that it seemed that it was getting very well received by the audience, and it was a very exciting time.
One thing about, do you want to talk about your disease?
It's fine. I could talk about it or not. I mean, it's not that important. I think.
For myself, it's I'm impressed to know that you have just you hear just
out of one ear, yeah.
just one ear,
Yeah.
And to play like you play with one ear. Tell us just a few words about how you managed to
Right.
to go on
Yeah.
after the disease.
Well, it was something that's called Menieres disease, and it's basically it's some kind of imbalance of fluid in the inner ear, which causes hearing loss and also balance problems. So this appeared in my mid-20s, like, shortly before I joined Dave's band, I think, actually. And it made life very, very difficult, because besides the hearing, just the balance thing, you would be walking along, you'd be doing something normal, just living your life, and then all of a sudden the room would be spinning, and you really couldn't even stand up, much less play the saxophone. So being on the road and, the things we have to take 3 flights a day, wake up at 5 a.m, play a concert that night, do it again the next day. It was a very challenging period, and I somehow made it through. I didn't miss too many concerts, but it was a lot of stress. And now I don't really have a problem with the dizziness, but I have lost all my hearing in my left ear.
Just 2 last questions.
Yeah, sure.
A question about your underground quartet.
Mm-hmm.
Quartet.
Mm-hmm.
The importance of the funk and the missing of bass.
Mm-hmm.
How you played without bass in this quartet, and
Right.
how you put this funk influence in this quartet.
Right. Yeah, that was something I really wanted to do, that I imagined in my head, like a way of, having kind of a more funk-based group that was also very improvisational and very serious, not trying to be commercial, but trying to explore what you can do with those sounds, And the sound of the Rhodes playing the bass, I mean, specifically, the way that Craig Taborn does it. I mean, it's really, he's one of a kind. So it wasn't like we didn't have any bass. We had the bass function just fine. It was just being played, from the keyboard. And that was nice also because it made for a smaller group. Like usually if you had the bass and keyboard sound and a guitar sound and a saxophone, you would have a quintet. Yeah. But we were able to get a lot of, sounds and textures with just a quartet. The more musicians are on stage, the bigger it is, but the less freedom everybody has. So it was a way of keeping, we all really had a lot of freedom. A lot of the music was very free. I mean, maybe it had a groove, but maybe a key center, maybe a time signature, and then it was completely open. So it was, we were able to go in all kinds of directions with it.
The last question is about your last CD.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, I don't think if you agree, but it's more classical. It's a mixture of classical and jazz music. Mm-hmm. Can you explain the genesis of this project and how you managed to show to the world? Mm-hmm. How will you play with the strings on stage?
Group?
Yeah,
I would love to. I'm hoping that at some point I will be able to do some concerts with this group. It's a big dream of mine to be able to actually play it live, because we have done it in New York a fair amount, and it's really, really fun. It's great. I mean, the influences of classical music, I think you hear it more than usual, even though I'm always, I have these references in my head, but when I'm playing with a quartet kind of sound or something, maybe you don't hear it, but the instrumentation allowed me to write more specifically, in a way that sounded like that. I knew that I wanted to do some sort of large ensemble record, and I kept thinking of all the different possible instrumental combinations, not just a big band. Okay. And the one that seemed most interesting to me and used all these people that I wanted to work with was, with string quartet, the vibraphone, again, Steve Nelson. Piano, again, it's with Craig Taborn. With the upright bass, Scott Colley playing upright bass, Fima Efron playing, bass guitar, and with Nate Smith playing drums. So these are all musicians that I knew very well, and I had a long history with. But I wanted to write some large ensemble music for us.
Did you write all the music?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was a lot of work, because it's an unusual combination too. There weren't too many references. I mean, there are a lot of references for writing for string quartet, but how to integrate that with, a jazz rhythm section with two bass players and vibraphone and marimba and, that was what I enjoyed is, I had to really use my imagination and be creative in figuring out how to score the music.
Thank you very much. We had a lot of questions but I'm going to try to not be boring. Thank you very much. We're going to put the next tune is from Dave Holland. It's a quintet. It's a tune called Prime Directive.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting to hear you and trombone playing and.
We really enjoy playing.
And we enjoy to listen. Thank you very much. Have a nice show on this stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
New Morning Radio.